When someone asked me why, I just
Yeah.
said, it's very quiet. It's a character study of someone I've never met, but I felt like, and I've never experienced most of the things in the film,
Right.
but yet I somehow felt it. I somehow felt it relate to my life.
And that's correct. And I think the reason that you experience the movie like that is because we all have traveled through life with a backpack filled with greatnesses and miseries, and with pain and glory. Even if it's not the same story that you see on the screen, when you look back in your life, everybody has to ask for forgiveness about
Yeah.
something. Everybody has to come to terms. Everybody has to reconciliate with somebody. Everybody has to close the circles that were left open. Anybody relate to that?
It is funny, though, given that it's so universal, that I know that at Cannes, when you were asked about how to do this film, you said you had to kill Antonio Banderas in order to do this film. What did you mean by that?
Metaphorically.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope that's not why you're wearing the
Well,
glasses.
No, what happened is that you have an image that is in the mind of people, and for certain characters that you have created, and Hollywood has a tendency to label, actors, and so I've been playing a number of characters for a number of years.
Like what? Like what did you think you were labeled as?
Heroic characters like Zorro, Desperado, 13th Warrior,
Yeah.
characters like that, with a kind of, physicality add to it, romantic characters, and this was a completely different turn for me, and it comes also in the perfect moment of my life to get a character like this, and it has to do with your personal life. We actors, we are. The food for us is our personal life, our artistic food. That's what we use. Our own experiences. You can just add those experiences to the characters that you are doing.
Well, what's the change in your life that makes this the perfect time?
I had a heart attack 2.5 years ago.
I'm so sorry.
And no, don't be, because it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. It just, it was an open eye experience for me to understand me better, and to relate with the universe in which I was living, to understand me, myself. And after that experience, all the important things were coming up very clearly to me. And those things that I thought they were important but they were not, practically disappeared. And so family, my daughter, my friends, and my vocation, not my professional life, but my vocation of being an actor and telling stories to people and share stories with people and reflect about life and laugh about it or get emotional with it, became very important. And suddenly the movie came to me at that particular moment. The changes in a very weird way. The night that I had the heart attack in the morning, but in the afternoon, evening, they implanted on me 3 stents in my coronary arteries.
Yeah.
And so I had to be that night at the hospital on observation, and there was this woman that came. It was an older nurse that came, and she made the most unusual question to me.
What's that?
She said to me, do you believe in popular culture?
Do you believe in popular culture?
That's what she said. And I said, yeah. Why?
What?
And she said, why do you think people say I love you with all of my heart? And they don't say I love you with all of my brain. And I said, well, I don't know. You're going to explain it to me, right? And she said suddenly, well, because, this is an organ that is, send oxygen to your whole body. But it's a warehouse of feelings.
Yeah.
And not many people believe that. The doctors don't believe that and stuff like that. But you will. Because you're going to get really sad now. For 2 or 3 months, you're going to be sad. And I remember asking her, I'm going to be depressed. And she says, no. Depressed is a medical condition. No, you're going to be sad. But after that, you're going to come stronger.
Was she right?
And yeah.
You were sad for a while?
But and it's interesting, Pedro detected that. When I started rehearsal with him, he knew there is something different in you. I don't know how to describe it, but it's something different in you since you had this cardiac event. I want you to use that in the movie. I want that in the character.
He said channel it.
Yeah, in a way, yes, you can do, and you can channel all of this into a character. So because I knew exactly what he was talking about.
It was funny you had to channel it into, and I want to make sure I'm being a bit loose here. You had to channel it into him.
Yeah,
I mean, the film, your character, is based on him,
yeah, it's him.
the director of the film, your longtime friend. When did you first realize that this film was based on Pedro?
When I read the script, obviously.
Did he tell you, or did you just pick it up?
No, I mean, when he called me before he sent me the script, he says something like, "Antonio, you're gonna find out that what the material I sent you, is filled with references of things that we have lived those experiences together in other years." And said, "It's about the '80s." He says, "Well, yeah, we are bouncing back between the '80s and now, and even back." Further to the '60s in my personal life and stuff like that. But just read it and let me know. And I found something that was very minimalist, very simple, but at the same time, that potential of emotional potential that was there was very, very, very strong. So at the beginning, my reaction was a reaction of happiness because my friend and the director that I actually adored trusted me to play him.
That's the deepest trust you can give somebody, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. But at least in this profession.
Yeah, there has to be.
But then the second reaction was panic because it was like, oh my God, am I going to be able to just pull it off? I am playing the guy who is directing me. And so that's weird. It's just weird enough to just play characters that are alive. Yeah. And I did it. I played Picasso and I played during my career several ones, but no, they were not directing me.
Yeah, right.
So, but at the same time, something very interesting happened with this particular movie, also that I could use, and is that the fact that in a way I started creating this character not knowing about this 9 years ago, and why is that? Because when I did The Skin I Live In, that was after 22 years that I didn't work with Pedro Almodvar. And so I came to Pedro in the first days of rehearsals, because Pedro loved to rehearse almost at least a month before principal photography.
Right, this is the last Pedro film you did.
No, before this one.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
It's called The Skin I Live In.
Yeah.
So it was after 22 years that we didn't work together. So I came to him in those rehearsals saying, hey, look, the things that I have learned in America, I'm a different actor now. I have all these new tools. And he says, okay. So let's start rehearsing. So after a week rehearsing, he said to me, man, I cannot use all those tools that you're bringing from America. They may be very useful for your American directors and your American movies, but not for me. Where are you? And it was like shocking, like, oh, man. So I instead of just get out of my horse and listen, I confronted him in a way. So the shooting was kind of tense, he's my friend. He was always creative, but it was, I had my ideas. He got his ideas. I was trying to impose my idea. It was a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But then here in Toronto, it's the first time I saw the film.
This film?
No, the Skin I Live in.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
I saw it here.
Yeah.
And I was watching the movie and I said, oh my God, this guy got, the ability to just bring out of me a character that I didn't even know I had inside. So it opens a reflection about, my relationship with him and my relationship with movies and with directors. And so I said to myself, I have to trust more. I have to be more confident with my director. So when he called me for this movie, I took all of those medals, all of those tools that I was using away, and I presented myself in front of him like a plain soldier.
But like you did back then, right? Like, I want to be clear with people listening to this. You've known Pedro Almodvar since the
1980.
1980. Like you were this empty vessel then. What do you remember about Madrid back then? It was, to me, it's this magical time of, underground art and punk and everything changing. What do you remember about meeting him back
It was
then?
that. It was, we were trying just to destroy, everything that was monolithic in Spain at that time. We were coming out of a dictatorship. Franco just died, and Pedro Almodvar came not just to change the history of motion pictures in Spain with a revolutionary way of narrating, which was completely different to everything that we had at the time, but actually to shake even the morality of the country. I remember when in 1985 we did Law of Desire, and for the first time in Spain and particularly in the world, actually, in serious movies, there was presented a homosexual relationship between two guys and explicit, on the screen, and everybody was just pulling their hair off. And nobody thought actually that in the same movie my character killed somebody, but that was okay. Killing somebody on the screen is being always permitted. Blood, violence is always permitted. But if two people from the same sex kiss on the screen, that create a big convulsion in the morality of people around. So that shake very much, the whole entire country at that time, and it helped actually the people to understand another ways to just live.
Who were you back then? Who were you? Like, what were you like?
I
In
was
1980 when you met.
I was kind of a naive, shy, young actor with a lot of dreams, and I came from Malaga to be an actor. I was an actor there, but in just amateur productions that we had no money to do. We were actually putting money to have our group functioning, and then I went to Madrid to try it. And I would have been happy to be with a spear, in the opera theater in the background.
right.
I just wanted to be a professional. I wanted to be one of them.
Did you feel like you fit in Madrid at that time?
It was very difficult at the beginning. I had no money. I had no. In the first year, I changed the place where I was staying 9 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I had no money. They threw me out.
Right.
I was in the house of a friend, of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. It was from Uruguay, a guy, and he got a sofa, he got a spring in the middle. And I was just sleeping around that spring that was out for 6 months.
Okay.
So
Good for
when
your
I
back.
went to a real bed that didn't have the spring, still I respected.
Yeah.
I still thought that it was there.
There's a DMZ.
Yeah.
In the middle of it all the time. So when you left Spain to go to America to be an actor, I want to get a quote here. Pedro Almodvar said that when it felt like a mother who had lost his son.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We got a career already in Spain. We won some international awards in Berlin, in Cannes, in the Venice Film Festival, stuff like that, And suddenly I received this offer to do a movie called The Mambo Kings Play Songs of Love. And it was for me an opportunity to just initiate a new adventure in a different country with a different language that I didn't speak at the time.
You didn't speak it at all?
Not at all. Not at all. And then Pedro picked a picture that I had with an Spanish actress called Victoria Abril.
Yeah.
Him and me on the wall of Berlin. We made the picture in the Festival of Berlin when the wall was coming down. And so he wrote the Mambo Kings play very sad songs.
No.
I still have that picture.
Hold on. You were like in your 30s when you learned?
I was 31 when I learned English. Yeah.
That's amazing to me. That's remarkable. Also that, and I mean this as gently as I possibly can, because you learned English so late, you maintained your accent when you speak English.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of actors have expressed that they would worry that accented English would have held them back. That they couldn't speak like someone from Idaho.
Right.
That they couldn't speak like someone from Vancouver.
Right.
But I feel like it never did. I feel like that you've always been this.
Well, it was an advantage and a handicap.
It was really
At the same time. I mean, I got a number of characters that I was offered when I was living in Hollywood. I couldn't get the full range of characters, so I had to play with different cars than anybody else. It's like a racing lane. You get a ball attached to your feet.
Yeah.
Because I only have these opportunities in front of, I cannot play an American lawyer, an American astronaut. I cannot play, those things were not for me. I had a specific range of characters that were offered to me. And so that was kind of a handicap. But an advantage, well, when I arrived to America, I didn't speak the language. Who was going to tell me that many years after I was going to be used only for my voice to play a character that was an animation character called Puss in Boots, and it became very, famous all around the world, because the people recognize my accent and the way that I speak. So, in this profession, things like that happen sometimes that are strange and weird. But now I feel like I am in the place that I have to be. I went back to Europe. I live in London now.
Yeah.
So I am doing more European projects. So it doesn't mean that I abandon Hollywood, but I can come here for things that I get very interested in doing. And that has been since this guy, the potato, was sick.
I can tell that. I mean, I just met you, but I can tell it changed you. I can tell. Again, even just knowing you about 15 minutes, that heart attack, that cardiac event must have.
Well, I'm getting older too. I'm going to be 60 next year, so that changed too a little bit.
Yeah, I guess that might do it. But it's so nice to see you going back with the people who help kind of bring you to the dance in the first place. I want to go back to what Pedro said. He said when Pedro Almodvar, the director of this new film, Pain and Glory, that you've worked with for a long time, he said when you left and you went to Hollywood, it felt like a mother losing her son. Does he feel like a father figure to you?
Sometimes, yeah, more like a brother in a way, but he has been always a friend, a dear friend. In which actually our friendship got a very specific universe. Pedro is a very, very private person. Very. So the friendship with him has boundaries. And I never try to trespass those boundaries and to know, certain areas of his intimacy.
So was making this film about him a way of learning about him?
Yes. When I received the script, I saw things in the script that I didn't know. I didn't know. I learned those things for the first time when I read the script. I didn't know that he has to come to terms with his mother. I met his mother. He used to put his mother in movies, Francisca. She was in Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, in some other movies that he did. Adore her, worship her. But I didn't know that he wanted to say to his mother, I'm sorry, Mama, for not being the son that you want me to be. So, and I knew that was very hard to say, because then you go back in time, and you see a little kid in a little town, very little village, with a father who's a peasant, and in a family, and he was gay. And in a village in the end of the 50s, beginning of the 60s, that was a punch in your mouth, my friend. If, for the whole entire family, in that regime, in a dictatorship. So, all of those things comes out in this movie. All this feverish moment that he has, in the movie when he was a little kid. It's very confessional. Everything that he says in this movie is very confessional. And it makes you think about something.
Yeah.
Because many people ask me about, is this a biographical movie? Or is this a biography of Pedro? Some of the events that are in the movie are real, but some of them are not. And it makes a question to me. When I was reading the script, the question came, where are we? Are we the things that we have done and we have said? Or are we the things that we want to say and we never said? Or the things that we wanted to do and we never did?
What do you think?
I think it's a compendium of all of those things. And I think Pedro fulfilled that circle and closed that circle that was left open in many issues in his life. The relationship with actors, with his mother, the relationship with cinema, with boyfriends.
Well, only tell me as much as you want to here, but between a heart attack and making this film about reaching back to the people you wish you could have spoken to, did it make you reconsider people you wish you had spoken to or people you wish you had reached out to?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
They must have.
Yeah. Yeah, you learn things that they were said to you at center point and that you actually they pass you like this. You didn't practice there. You know, one of the things there was an agent that unfortunately he died, you know, years ago. But I worked with him only for 2 years. He was called El Limar. He was a legendary agent. He had probably the best actors in Hollywood, and I worked for him with these 2 years. And he said to me, he said, "You know the most important word in Hollywood, Antonio? The most important word is no. You have to learn to say no. Those who say no are the winners. The ones who say yes all the time become cheap, and the people don't want them. You have to say that word, my friend." But at that time, you know, you're just in the, no, because you feel, we actors, because we have a very temporary work. We feel that when you finish a movie that nobody's going to call you again. So you just pick up everything almost compulsively because you think that everything is going to finish.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, I am in a point now in which I don't care. I'm fine.
Are you feeling some regret for that time in your life?
No regrets. No complaints. No regrets. Because I am here and I am satisfied. Very satisfied with who I am now. And if I change something that I have done in the past, I may not be here talking to you right now and feeling good.
In Pain and Glory, your character believes that if he can't make movies, he has no reason to live. And not to be dark or morbid, but after you go through something like that, like you've gone through, can you relate to that?
Yeah, totally. I wouldn't understand a life without art. Could you understand anybody who's listening to me right now, a life without music? Without looking at paintings, without looking at movies or theater? A life without music, what is that? How did you, I mean, I can just make a map of my life with music. The things that I was listening when I was a little kid that my father used to sing with a guitar.
What do you sing?
You know, Cuando calienta el sol aquí en la playa. I remember him singing that song.
I don't know it.
Cuando calienta el sol aquí en la playa, siento tu cuerpo vibrar cerca de mí. I remember that, and I was probably 4 or 5 years old, but I sing that song and I see my father, and I remember those songs coming on the radio, you know, flamenco songs of the beginning of the 70s, you know, and then all the pop music that I started listening, and the Beatles and this. No, it's like food. You need art to live. We need to do art because it's a reflection about ourselves, you know, and a projection that we have with ourselves. It's a way to share experiences and emotions and laughter and all of those things. No, I couldn't understand a life without art.
So when Pedro tells you to channel your heart attack in this film,
in the rehearsal period,
to use it
in the rehearsal period.
I'm not an actor. I'm a musician. I don't act. I've never been on a set, except for this one. And I don't think this counts. What did you do? Help me understand that.
Okay.
When he says use that in this performance, what was? How does that work? What does that look like?
I knew pretty much what he was talking about. It's very abstract. It's very difficult to express. And in part, sometimes I thought that I am an actor because I cannot verbalize certain feelings. I can act them, but I cannot verbalize them. And so I have to act them, you know. And this character gave me a possibility that was very interesting. I think the character is more the character when he's in silence than when he's talking. When he's expressing by, you know, talking, you know, his feelings and stuff like that, it's not so much the character that I want to create as when he's listening to others and when he's in silence in front of the camera. That's when I had the opportunity to just do very little subtle things that I think is what composed the character really.
Isn't that interesting that, I don't want to speak for you here, but I've heard actors say that to me in the past, that they felt like they needed to act to express feelings they couldn't themselves express in their normal lives. And in this case, it feels like you were doing that for a long time, and it feels like in this film you were acting to learn more about yourself as a human.
Probably. But I thought the character admits that. What's one of the things also that we reflect very much about it, you know, when we were just creating the character, is the fact we didn't want to be manipulative with the audience. Because sometimes you see, and probably we see that more than people who are not in the business, that I can see when an actor is trying to drive me to emotion, and it totally take me out. You know,
It's manipulative. I think about this stuff all the time. I think about it with the news a lot. You know?
yeah,
It's
they
a
get too busy in
Yeah.
order to just get you to some place
Yeah,
that you know what I mean.
I agree.
But in this movie, we try to escape out of that. So when the emotion comes, it comes for a real. There was a very specific scene that everybody comments to me, because the movie, to tell you the truth, for me, the movie and the effect that the movie produces in people is a mystery. I'm too attached to it. It's a mystery. I will not know that until, I don't know, 15, 20 years from now, I'm zapping on television and I may see the movie and say, oh, now I understand. But now I'm too attached to it.
Right. So what's the
But
scene for people who
There is
haven't
a
seen
scene that I have with an ex-boyfriend in the movie, and he's telling me what he's doing now. He's in South America, living in South America. And so we did this scene, the master. The master is, is a wide shot of the scene for the people to understand. And we did it, and it was the end of the day. And so everybody was sent home. So we came the next day. We had to continue with the scene. And Leo Sbaraglia, the Argentinian actor who plays with me in the scene, he said to me, Antonio, I have a very long text to say in the scene. Do you mind if we put the camera on you first and I can rehearse in the off camera? And I said, no, it's totally fine with me. Absolutely. And because I didn't have so much text, so it's fine. So they put the camera on me. And suddenly he started talking. And out of the blue, I have no idea, because he was telling me, I got married, I have 2 kids now, I got a restaurant, all this story, very simple story. But it hit me so heavy suddenly, this emotional thing that I didn't know where it's coming from, and I couldn't stop crying. I didn't know. I thought that Pedro was going to cut the scene in the middle, because we never rehearsed it like that. We never did that. So when is he going to cut? I was just thinking, while I was playing. And he didn't cut. And then he said, okay, turning around on Leo, we got the scene. I said, Pedro, you don't want to do another one? No, I got it. So we were not looking for that, but it came.
What happened?
I don't know. I cannot explain it to you. My mind went back in time to the 80s, to those days, to the people that I met, to remember Pedro in the way that he was at that time, to the laughter, to, the group that we were together. We were like the Rolling Stones at that time. We were arriving to any place, a restaurant, and it was like, this is the Almodvar people coming, and we were, breaking all the rules of the game. We were the enfant terrible of the Spanish cinematography. So all of that came, and I got very emotional, Another day, for example, too, I was shooting a scene with my mom in a balcony. Is that scene in which I say to her, I'm sorry, I'm not the son that you wanted to have. And then Pedro loves to come to the set and direct actors reading their lines, And so just to give the latest indication, when you say that, remember this, remember that, whatever.
Of course.
So he read the part of my mom first, and I was just giving the replica to him, And so he was going to read my part. And he took the script, and he went, okay. And he couldn't read. He couldn't read the line that he wrote.
Because it's him.
Because it's him. And because it was so strong for him to say those things to his mother. So I said, I got it. Go back to the combo, just say action. You don't have to talk to me about this. I see what is producing on you. And that's what you want me to do. Yeah. So just let me do it. I got it. And so, that's how this movie was done. It was not in the traditional way, because I got the character there with me. So that changes completely the rules of the game. As when you're doing a fictional character, or you're doing even a character that existed but is not there anymore. Playing Picasso was very interesting, but I relate in things that the family said to me, in books that I have read, in stories that I've been told, documentaries, many other things. But I have Pedro there with me. That changed everything.
And Pedro Almodvar, the director of this film, Pain and Glory, has said that this film and this role marks a new chapter for you as an actor. But I can tell, talking to you, that there's a new chapter just for you as Antonio, as a person.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you want it to look like?
I don't know what I want to look like, but I know what I'm doing. I just did something very romantically stupid, and that is ruining me.
What?
I bought a theater.
Where?
In Malaga, in my hometown.
Oh, yeah, right on.
And I attach it to a school, and I have 600 students there studying scenic arts. the school that I never had. Yeah.
The school that you never had.
I
you,
never had.
You want to give people the opportunity
Oh,
that
yeah.
you were unable to have.
Yeah. And I want to be truthful with them. They study academics in the morning.
Yeah.
So they do finish, the bachiller, as it's called in Spain. And then in the afternoon, evening, they study singing, music, and dancing and acting. And some of those kids are in the West End already doing musicals or in Madrid. And I have a girl, actually, that is in the Bolshoi in Russia, dancing classic. Wow. So I'm very happy about this project. We're building a second theater, a black box in the school now for the all these students to get a lab, a theatrical lab where they can experiment and they can do plays and they can do things. That's it's fulfilling me so much. It's very difficult to explain.
Well, it's cool because I think as performers and as artists, it's a very, and I mean this in the not bad way, self-centered job.
Yeah,
you are your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way you look, the way I talk, the way we think, that's our job.
Yeah.
So it must be meaningful to be doing something for others.
And unfortunately, you have to tell the 600, and I do. Eventually, I do. I go to them and say, you know that not all of you are going to make it, right?
Yeah.
Only a very little percentage. But good news, there are other professions that are beautiful around this that may satisfy you. We need art directors, we need scenographers, we need costume designers, we need producers.
Yeah.
They have to be prepared just to run a theater. We need all of these things that we need. And they start getting... So I am using my relationships for all of these years in Hollywood to take the best scenographers, the best directors, the best actors to talk to them and tell them their stories. And that is very important for them because they feel important and they feel that somebody cares.
Just make sure you get 10%. Yeah.
No, this is actually this is a non-profit
I'm joking.
thing. It's just I am actually losing money.
Well, it's lovely to meet you. Lovely to talk to you.
Same here, man.